Hello, I'm your host, Dr. Caroline Leaf, and welcome to my podcast, Cleaning Up the Mental Mess. Today I'm going to be talking about a concept called the QZE. It's a quantum concept, and before you think, oh my gosh, what's that got to do with me? It's got everything to do with you, because it's all about whatever you think about the most will grow into your mind-brain-body network and affect how you function. So how you are functioning is very much determined by how you are thinking, because whatever you think about the most will grow. So if you can manage how you are thinking, you can redesign how you're growing networks and how you're functioning. So before we dive in, though, I would love, and by the way, this is such a helpful podcast, because understanding the power that you have is so empowering, because you don't feel like hopeless and that you just like your mind's just running away without you. Your thoughts do not have to control you. You control your thoughts, and your thoughts need controlling, because your mind is the thing that makes the thoughts. So as you manage your mind, you control your thoughts, and therefore you control your life. And that's really important, and your physical and mental health too. Okay, so just before we start, though, I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast. It helps so much for us to keep bringing these podcasts to you, and share with friends and family. Hey, we all need some help. We all need some help with our thought life, and that's what I'm here to help you do. So let's dive in. Okay, so whatever you think about the most grows, and what we think about the most can affect us more than just what we are experiencing. There are hidden costs. So there are hidden costs. Whatever you think about the most will grow, and whatever grows affects us. So there are hidden costs to just randomly letting your mind think spending a lot of time thinking about something, because whatever you think about the most is growing. In quantum physics, as I mentioned, we call this the quantum Zeno effect. It is the repeated effort that makes learning take place. It is the repeated thinking about something that drives the process of neuroplasticity. Now, we're always thinking. You never don't think. You're alive, you're thinking, okay? How you're thinking is key, because you're always thinking, therefore you're always rewiring this mind-brain-body and wiring into this mind-brain-body network, which is affecting how we function. So therefore, how we are thinking and wiring in is so important. And whatever we think about the most is becoming something that is affecting how we function. So if we don't like how we're showing up, we might be quantum zenoing, putting that repeated effort thinking about something and wiring in and via neuroplasticity into the mind-body network, something that we actually don't want to do. So how we are directing our attention, how we are thinking about things is really important. There are hidden effects. You can't just spend your time ruminating on something and expect no effect. You can't spend your time just rehearsing in your mind. Whatever you think about the most is growing. Whatever that repeated effort of thinking is making neuroplasticity happen in that direction. And you can't just rehearse a whole bunch of stuff about this person said this, and then, and you know how we go down those rabbit holes. I've done it, where I had this whole conversation in my head. Someone says something to me, and then I'm thinking about that, and I'm going through all that. They said this and that, and implications, and imagine if I said this, they're going to say that. And you go down this rabbit hole. You are growing that into your brain. It's the repeated effort of how you are thinking about that is growing that. And when you grow that network, that generates energy, and that energy comes into the conversation when you next see that person. So if you think you can just build a network in through ruminating or through paying that it's repeatedly thinking about something, the repeated effort makes learning take place, and think that learning that's taken place isn't real, it is real, it's built in a network, think twice, because that is the network that will come into that conversation. And that mind-brain-body network is alive, dynamic, filled with energy, and it will come out and hit that person. Sorry, my computer was playing up there. So, will literally hit that person. You know the paintball, where you shoot all that paint and it's quite sore? Well, all of our words come out of our mouth, and it's an auditory sound wave, and they don't just come out of our mouth, they come out of our mouth from the network. And that network is filled with a certain type of energy. So that energy is filtered through your mouth and into how you speak. So if you have got this negative attitude towards that person, you think that they are very bitter and twisted, so therefore they are X, Y, and Z, or you think that they're always angry, so they're X, Y, and Z, or you think that they are unkind, or you think that they are too proud, or whatever it is. That is in your network. And if you've ruminated on that, if you've quantum zeno affected that, if you've thought about it constantly, you have grown it into something that is powerful. So that energy is attached to your words. And even though you might be saying, hello, how are you? And acting like everything's okay, what is coming through into the non-conscious is that energy. That's what hits the person. It's an actual energetic light wave. And it hits that person, your auditory sound wave and the light wave, hit that person, they absorb that into them. And even though you might be saying okay words, you are picking up that vibe. You're picking up that energy. So the quantum zeno effect is the word we use for it. If you think about the most is growing, but you are able to direct and control that process, okay? So just to give you a really interesting example, we hear so much about loneliness. Tons of stuff about loneliness, and it's a valid thing. We've changed society, we've changed how we run society, we don't have enough face-to-face contact because of technology. We know all these things which we do need to work on constantly, and thank goodness there's so much awareness to change that. But an interesting study showed that the link between the QZE and loneliness, and what they showed, and this was in December 2024, this study came out. Okay, and basically it shows that if you ruminate on loneliness, so it's going to increase depression. So what that means is that if you keep thinking how lonely you are and how bad that loneliness is, the more the rumination on the loneliness is growing the loneliness into a really toxic thing, and that will increase depression. So the study's called A Network Analysis of Rumination on Loneliness and the Relationship with Depression, released December 2024, and it has shown that the more we think about loneliness, the more we will slip into and get stuck in rumination, which is QZE, the quantum zeno effect, in the wrong direction. Remember I spoke about whatever you think about the most grows, which is the QZE, and so what's really important is how we think about it, because we can QZE in the right or the wrong direction. So you can be lonely, but thinking about loneliness and how lonely you are and ruminating on how bad that is actually worse than the loneliness, because that then leads to increased depression. So the more depressed you get. So the more we think about loneliness, the more we slip into, get stuck in rumination on loneliness, and the more depressed we will get. So the more you ruminate on being lonely, the more depressed you will get. The more you think in the wrong direction, the more you put the repeated effort into learning about how lonely you are. And learning is a term we use for as soon as you start thinking you're learning. Learning just basically means you're wiring it into your network and it's going to affect you. That's what learning is. Anything that becomes part of you and affects you has been learned, okay? So the more that you slip into rumination about loneliness, and the more you're going to increase your depression. And this goes for anything. The more you think about how bad a problem is, the more of those emotions the more things like depression and anxiety and worry, etc., will move from helpful into harmful. They'll tip over into the wrong side. So in fact, the study found that ruminating about being lonely is more closely linked to depression than actual loneliness. That is so powerful and so totally proves this quantum zeno effect, which is the repeated effort that makes learning take place, which is whatever you think about the most will grow and affect you. So they found that ruminating about being lonely was more closely linked to depression than actual loneliness. Kind of goes with the sleep thing. The more you worry about sleep, the worse your sleep will get. See, if I ruminate, if I quantum zeno in the fact, I've got to sleep, if I don't sleep, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, you actually will have worse sleep. Whatever you think about the most is growing and affecting you on a mental, physical, and in a mind-brain-body connection, your psycho-neurobiology. So the findings reveal that ruminating on the feeling of loneliness poses a significant risk of developing depression. So consequently, focusing on interventions for loneliness need to include what managing how you are thinking about loneliness would literally be a pivotal strategy for curbing the escalating incidence of depression, because it's how are you thinking about the loneliness? How are you thinking about your thinking? How are you quantum xenoing? So what do? Okay, we do a QZE Mindshift. Okay, so a QZE, quantum xeno effect, whatever you think about the most will grow. The actual description, the other wording I've been using is the repeated effort makes learning take place. Okay, to describe that. And a mind shift means that you're going to shift how you are thinking. So quantum xeno effect mind shift is just a cute term that I've used for let's be aware of how you are thinking about your thinking. So how do you do that? So I developed a system called the Neurocycle. A lot of you are familiar with it already. It is a magical, marvelous system that you can incorporate all kinds of techniques into it. It's not a therapy technique. It's not a technique. It is a system for driving your thinking in the right direction. It is a system to help you make sure that you're quantum xenoing in the right direction. It is a system that helps you identify when you haven't been, and it's showing up in your life as depression, anxiety, whatever, irritation, whatever, okay, issues in your life, and tracking back to find out what were you thinking about, and how did you, what was the root, etc., and how to reconstruct that, and to deconstruct and reconstruct. So it's an amazing system. It's only 5 steps. Each of those 5 steps has been thoroughly scientifically researched over 40 years, run through clinical trials and in clinical application. And there's a lot you can read about my papers and research on my website if you don't already know my work. And the Neurocycle, which is available, by the way, on Android, iOS, and web version, it basically is a 5-step system that is each step you need to do. You can't skip a step, and you need to do them in order. And they're logical. They're easy. When I explain them, they're easy to understand. But, you've got to practice doing them in order, because we tend to be very good at the first and the last, but we tend to leave out the middle 3 steps. And you always start the Neurocycle with a bit of brain preparation, mind, brain, body preparation, which would be things like a bit of breathing or meditation or visualization. I give you tons of exercises inside my Neurocycle app, and I have books as well. Cleaning Up the Mental Mess, my most recent book that really explains this alongside the app, okay? So essentially the app is basically a 5-step process, and the first step is gather awareness, the second step is to reflect, the third step is to mind shift and to mind storm and do a right, and the fourth step is recheck, fifth step is active reach. So I'm going to demonstrate this, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is gather awareness. I'm going to gather awareness, like you pick apples on a tree. I'm going to gather awareness on what am I focusing on? What am I worrying about? What at the moment, what in this very moment, what am I quantizing on? What am I thinking about the most? And how am I thinking about it? Okay, you ask yourself that question. What am I thinking about the most? And how am I thinking about it? Okay, and then make us answer that. Then you go to reflect. Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this good or bad? And why am I doing this? And then you go to the third step, where you just mindstorm, grab a piece of paper and just put down whatever comes to mind from asking yourself those questions. Then you look back at that and you do the fourth step, which is a recheck, a reconceptualization. So, okay, this is what I'm ruminating on. This is why I think I'm doing it. This is what it's doing to me. And I need to see this differently. So it could be what I'm ruminating on is maybe, let's say, loneliness, how lonely you are and how you want friends and how you're feeling so depressed from the loneliness. And then the reflect would be, okay, well, I've actually written some questions here. So what is the rumination? I'm so lonely. What's wrong with me? I need some deep, meaningful connection. How does this make me feel? Depressed. Where do I feel this in my body, my neck, whatever? How is this affecting my behaviors? I'm withdrawing, okay? Then reflect. Why am I doing this? I'm just not connecting with people anymore. I'm not having faith. I wonder why, when, how often. Then your mindstorm and write. Just write down, I miss talking to people. I miss face-to-face. This is making me sad. I don't like this. I want more. I used to have whatever comes up. Just put it down. Now recheck. So how can I change the way I see this loneliness? Because remember, the quantum xeno effect is whatever you think about the most will grow. So how you are quantum xenoing, how you are thinking about your thinking. So let's look at how you are thinking about this loneliness. I'm thinking about this loneliness as something that is making me depressed, making me withdraw, making me feel worse, and I'm just going around and thinking I'm getting stuck in this. What's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. Okay, I'm thinking there's something wrong with me. So what am I going to do? How can I see this differently? There's nothing wrong with me. There is a loneliness epidemic. I am battling. I need to connect more with people. So in recent research, so you get some facts. I'm giving you some facts. This is a great part of your reconceptualization. Now, some recent research shows that even a brief interaction with strangers can reduce loneliness and depression and boost happiness significantly. So here I'm giving you a fact. So this is you. You can say, okay, there's research out there. Dr. Lee spoke about research saying that even a brief interaction with strangers. So maybe next time I'm on the tube, or the next time I'm on the bus, or the next time I'm standing at Starbucks, or the next time I am in the elevator, or whatever, I'm just going to smile and interact and ask how your day's going, because research shows that just a brief connection will start boosting your happiness and well-being significantly. Another thing is that you can think about, there's another piece of research that shows that cultivating a third life. And a third life is a life where you actually look for regular connection and glorious, unproductive leisure. So you're looking for regular time for connection and glorious, unproductive leisure. That's how they describe it, okay? So it's basically, the greatest example of this is Paris. My one daughter lives in Paris, and it's just fascinating it's wonderful to see that over lunch times and in the evening, there's this move away from work, and they go and grab their lunch, and they sit in the park, sit in the beautiful areas, and there's connection with other people. They've got people all around them. There's a definite unproductive leisure time of connection and just being around people. And in the evening after work, there's a lot of spontaneous connection. This is a third life. This is something that we don't have enough of in the States. And this is something we can really learn from places like in Paris. It was something incredible that every time I go there, observe this, and it's beautiful. So here's a quote, a third life's quote from an article. Okay, here we go. Here's a quote for you. Okay, this is from an article, Why a Third Life is the Answer to America's Loneliness Epidemic, from the Time magazine. Okay, and this is a quote from here. Whether it's through a noble commitment to volunteering, so maybe you decide to volunteer, a noble commitment to something new that we're simply terrible at doing. Okay, so you can get connection with people through volunteering, or maybe doing something new that you're not good at doing, but it forces you to connect. I've just spent 3 hours with one of my team members helping me to sort out a problem on my computer, learned so much stuff, and we had so much fun talking about it and talked about other things in between while we were waiting, whatever. I had to learn something new, and it turned it into a fun connection time. Whether talking to new people or the steady building of regular social outings, creating a framework that is safe from the reach of obligation or the temptation of performative busyness is a higher calling for this lonely and polarized moment. So that's a quote from Why a Third Life is the Answer to America's Loneliness Epidemic. So it's talk to new people, do something you're simply terrible at doing, commit to volunteering, go for social outings like they're saying in Paris, make a distinct effort to sit outside or sit with people, whatever, over lunchtime, and just make short, brief connections, whatever it is to get away from just this busyness and productivity that's polarizing us, okay? So what can you, so there's some ways, taking research and reading things, you can build that into your active reach, which was the fourth step, so seeing things differently. Now, from that, you can then plan, what is my action step? What am I going to do? My plan is, here's an example. I will talk to one stranger a day by hanging at Starbucks and chatting to a stranger, even if it's the barista. Each time I catch myself ruminating on being lonely and feeling depressed, I will change my QZE direction to thinking about something kind I could do for someone, and I will do it. So there's 2 little plans. Every time I get my coffee, I'm going to make sure I talk to someone, even if it's a few moments, because I know from my reconceptualization that when I do that, I'm shifting my QZE, and I'm not thinking about my loneliness in a negative way. I'm actually making the effort to turn this into some action, okay? And then the other thing is, if I say, oh, I'm so lonely, I'm so bad, what's wrong with me, no one likes me, whatever, I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to shift my QZE. I'm not going to get stuck in thinking like that, and I'm going to actually make an effort to think about something kind I could do or say to someone, and I'm going to do it. And you do it. Okay, so that's using the Neurocycle to help you do a QZE Mindshift, to help you to understand how you are thinking about your thinking and changing it. You want to know more about the Neurocycle, you can go to my app, neurocycle.app. That's the web page. There's a web version, iOS and Android. And so, in conclusion, whatever you think about the most will grow, and how you think about it can direct the direction of growth. So you're always thinking, you're always growing, but is it in the direction that you want to go? The quantum Zeno effect is basically the science of what I've just said. For the repeated effort that makes learning take place, we can direct that repeated effort and we can learn different things. And the example we used was loneliness, and how research shows that loneliness, if we ruminate on loneliness about how lonely we are, that actually increases depression. But we can do things like just a few moments talking to a stranger can change our loneliness. And things like creating a third life, like the Time Magazine article, which is making a determined effort to get out of your comfort zone and change things. Where it's not productive, it's just this wonderful time together. Talk to a stranger, volunteer, go to the park, go to the park and chat to someone next to you, chat to someone new at the lunch table, talk in the elevator. That kind of thing is going to help us to manage this. That's one example. Manage how we think about things. We need to think differently about everything in order to make changes. And I use loneliness as the example. I hope that helped you. Okay, I've got another thing I want to share with you. I am super excited. I have a new book coming out, and it's coming out on the 5th of August, and it is called Help in a Hurry. And it's filled with all this great stuff that is really a response to what you guys ask me all the time in emails and comments and posts and all that, and comments and posts and my podcasts all over the place. And it is kind of stuff that I've used with my patients and I use with myself. And we did surveys and everything. We found the things that top 18 things people want us to talk about, want help with. And it's that help in a hurry. What do I do right now in the midst of an emergency? So some of the headings are things like, what's going on in my head? Help. What's going on in my head? Help. I'm under pressure. What do I do? Help. My brain won't shut up. Help. I want to punch that person in the face. Help. The world seems black and white. Help. I'm tired all the time. Help. My intrusive thoughts are driving me crazy. Help. I don't feel happy all the time. Help. I'm angry all the time. Help. My regrets are holding me back. Help. I don't know what the heck is happening. Help. My past is haunting me. Help. I'm a people pleaser. Help. My inner critic won't let go. Help. I'm self-diagnosing again. Help. Technology's everywhere and I don't know what to do. Help. Everything is going wrong. So it's short, simple chapters with practical stuff that you can grab, carry the book with you, read it in a plane, read it in a train, not while you're driving. It will help you, help your family. It's practical, super easy. And if you pre-order now, and the URL and all the details are in the show notes, you can get all kinds of bonuses. If you get one book, you pre-order one, you get all kinds of stuff. You get a free workbook, you're getting access to webinars, you get all kinds of stuff. And you can go read in the show notes all the different options, all these great book bonuses that are going to really help you to apply this information in your life. I'm here to help you. I'm here to create a community where we help each other manage your thought life. Your mind and your thought life are 99% of who you are. And if we want to make this world a better place, we have to become better humans. To become better humans and operate in love and kindness, we have to get our minds under control. So join me on the journey. Look forward to seeing you next time.